All right, welcome back. We are now in Canto 6, and this is for you paid subscribers, and you'll notice that I now have a nice little mic, so my voice should be sounding a little bit better, a little bit more clear and less echoey. So we'll see how that helps the reading and the commentary. All right, so we've made it down into hell. We have passed the Acheron. We've met with the quote-unquote virtuous pagans, those who committed sin. Their sin is the sin of omission. That is the sin that's highlighted. We have gone into the second circle with the lustful, this where starts the sins of commission. And in this canto, you'll remember in the second circle, Dante recognizes that these are those who have submitted their reason to their passions, submitted their reason to their lusts. And so they're not thinking with their brains, they're thinking with their appetites, with their passions, with their lusts. They've given themselves over to their lusts and aren't thinking intellectually, aren't thinking rationally at all. They become mere beasts in a way. And so we see that again here with the gluttons in Canto 6. So, without further ado, when I came once again to my senses, which closed with pity for the two in-laws who had completely confused me with grief, new torments and new tormented I saw round about me, whichever way I moved, and turned around whichever way I looked. I am in the third circle, where the rule and quality of the rain, eternal, wretched, heavy, and cold, is never new. Heavy hailstones, filthy water, and snow spill downward through the dark and gloomy air. The ground that receives this vents a foul smell. Cerberus, that cruel and deviant beast, barks, canine-like, with 3 different gullets, over the people that are there submerged. His eyes bright vermilion, beard greased and black, his belly broad, and nails long and scratching. He claws and flays and quarters the spirits. The rain makes them howl like a pack of dogs. They screen one side from rain with the other, turning often the impious wretches. When Cerberus saw us, that great worm turned, opened his mouths, and showed us all his fangs. Not a single member did he keep still. And my leader stretched out both of his hands, took hold of the earth, and with his fists full he threw it into the ravenous throats. Just like a dog that, eager and barking, is silent once it starts gnawing its food, yapping and nipping only to devour, so were made each of those filthy faces of the demon Cerberus, who thunders at the souls, such that they wish to be deaf. Okay, so Cerberus, of course, is the 3-headed dog, the the original Fluffy, if you care for Chamber of Secrets, and it's also a demon in the Aeneid 6 as well. So Dante, this isn't original to Dante. This comes from Virgil, and each of we're going to see each of these circles, or a lot of these circles, have a beast or a demon or some kind of guardian that embodies or symbolizes the punishments. And so Cerberus represents this beast, right? This dog, this 3-headed dog, that is constantly yapping and constantly hungry, constantly ravenous, and needs to eat, and will be content with anything, right? Virgil throws dirt from the ground into its gullet, and it munches and chews and is satisfied, and they're able to get past it as the dog eats. But what is he eating? He's just eating mud, right? He's just eating dirt. This is emblematic of gluttony, right? It's the glutton has no real appreciation or real love for food or for drink. Rather, he has love for himself only, and uses the tool of food to satisfy his own pleasures. Right? That's what he's more concerned with himself than with anything outside of himself. And so this three-headed dog symbolizes that. All right, we'll keep going. All those there were stretched out upon the ground, except for one who forced himself to sit quickly when he saw us pass before him. Oh, I skipped a tercet. Let me back up. Passing through the shaking sludge, beaten down by heavy rain, we stepped over the shapes of souls, so empty and broken they seemed. All those there were stretched out upon the ground, except for one who forced himself to sit quickly when he saw us pass before him. "You, who are being led through this hell," he cried, "look at me, try and recognize my face. You were made before I was here unmade." I answered, "The anguish that you suffer perhaps is what draws you out of my mind, for it seems that I have never seen you. But tell me who you are, who have been set in such a wretched place, in punishment that, if not the worst, is no less sorry." And he said to me, "Your city, so full of envy, the sack by now overflows, maintained me with her in the serene life. You citizens called me Ciacco, the pig, because of the damning guilt of my gut. As you see, I am dulled by all this rain. But sad soul though I am, I'm not alone. Everyone is here for the same reason, similar sentence for similar sin." His voice broke off. "Dear Ciacco," I replied, "your grief is so heavy I want to weep. But tell me, if you know, what will happen to the subjects of that shattered city, if anyone there is just, and say why such disunity has assaulted it?" Before we get to Ciacco's response, notice that Dante still is pitying the damned, right? This is why he swooned, he fell in a faint at the end of the previous canto with Francesca and Paolo. He was pitying them, showing compassion for them in their judgment, right, in their damnation, which is, as we talked about in the previous episode, is standing against the judgment of God, to show compassion for the damned in their state of damnation, in that final state of eternal punishment. To show compassion to them is to stand against God and in some way saying, God, what you're doing here is unjust, right? They don't deserve this. And so he has this, the pilgrim has this same kind of compassion for Ciacco. He wants to weep. His grief is so heavy. He is pitying the damned. Now, he goes on to ask, what about the city? And what cities he's talking about? He's talking about Florence. And Florence is always just in the background in the comedy. Dante, of course, having been born and raised in Florence and being exiled by the Florentines. That's a whole nother story. But he has an affection for the Florentines. He has an affection for Florence. And he wants to see Florence redeemed. So just a little bit of a timeline before getting back to here. He was exiled from Florence in 1302. And he started writing the comedy in 1308 or thereabouts. But he sets the comedy in 1300, on Good Friday of 1300. And what's important about that is in spring of 1300 in Florence, Dante was on the ascent. He was about to be, in the next couple of months, about to be elected one of the priors, one of the 6 priors of Florence, which governed the whole republic, right? The whole Republic of Florence. And this was a premier position, top dog. And so all of this whole journey is set before the pilgrim knows anything about the exile, knows anything about the trouble that's going to come. And starting with this canto, he's going to get hints that something disastrous is on the horizon. Something disastrous is going to happen to him, and he doesn't quite know what it is, but it alarms him. And it's not until Canto 17 of Paradiso that it becomes clear what is going to happen. And that's what his great-great-great-great-grandfather, Cacciaguida, will tell him, that he will be exiled, right? But right here, right now, and for the rest of Inferno and Purgatorio, whenever these hints come up, Dante doesn't quite know what to make of them. The pilgrim I should say, doesn't know what to make of them. Of course, the poet knows exactly what has happened. He's looking back and he's placing this story 8+ years in his past, just before this great event in late 1301, early 1302, when he was exiled from Florence for political reasons. So that's in the background here, and starting with this conversation, he's going to get little hints that something is coming. And he said to me, after long contention, they will come to blood, and the savage sect will drive out the other with much offense. He's talking about the Guelphs and the Ghibellines. More on that in a bit. After this, within 3 sons, these must fall, and the other will return with the force of one that even now straddles the shore. A long time it will hold its head up high, holding others beneath the heavy weights, however they may weep or feel ashamed. 2 are just, but they are not listened to. Envy, pride, and avarice are 3 sparks that have set aflame the hearts of the rest. There's a case to be made that envy, pride, and avarice are represented in the 3 beasts, the leopard, the lion, and the she-wolf. We'll find out in Purgatorio 20 that avarice is identified directly by Dante with the she-wolf. The other 2 aren't identified. The other beasts aren't identified. But there is, I think, good justification for taking envy and pride as the leopard and the lion. The leopard, lion, and she-wolf, you remember, being the 3 beasts that keep Dante coming out of Florence, keep him from escaping judgment, right? So if that's true of Dante, the pilgrim, that's also true of the Florentines. That's true of Florence itself. And so he's saying here, Ciacco is saying, envy, pride, and avarice are 3 sparks that have set aflame the hearts of the rest. The whole city of Florence is aflame with these 3 vices. He put an end to the heart-rending speech, and I said, I wish that you would teach me once again and make a gift of more words. Fernata, Tajaio, so worthy, Jacopo Rostucci, Arrigo, Mosca, and the rest who thought to do good. Tell me, where are they? Tell me where they are, that I might see them, for I am pressed by great desire to know, sweetened by heaven or poisoned in hell. These were names of valiant warriors, fighters, politicians, noblemen in Florence who have since died, who had died by 1300. And so Dante is wondering, are these noble men that I looked up to, are this nobility, these courageous, brave warriors, are they in heaven or are they in hell? They are, he said, among the souls most black. Different guilt weighs on them much further down. If you go down that far, you will see them. But when you return to that sweetest world, I beg of you, remind them all of me. I will answer no more of your questions. His eyes, once straight, turned sinister and bent. Looking once more at me, he bowed his head, falling back with the other blind sinners. And my leader said, he will wake no more till the sound of the angelic trumpet, when the enemy power will arrive. Right? The enemy power here, from the perspective of hell, is Jesus. Right? He's the mighty one, the enemy power that will come and bring judgment on all of the damned, final judgment on all of the damned. Each sinner will see again his sad tomb, taking back both his figure and his flesh, to hear that which thunders eternally. Right, so this is a veiled allusion to the great resurrection, the final resurrection, the great judgment. And Dante, as all Christians have believed, he also believes, and Virgil here represents this view, that both the good and the bad, both the righteous and the wicked, both saved and unsaved alike, in that final day will rise again and receive their bodies. And then in their bodies, in that final state of union with body and soul, in that final perfected state, perfected not meaning morally, but perfected in terms of what we are created to be. We are created to be body-soul unities. In that perfected state, we will then either be led into the promised land of eternal joy on the right hand of Christ into the eternal life that he has for us, or be led in that state into damnation, into hell, and hell proper, right? The eternal state of punishment. That's what Virgil is referring to here. Each sinner will see again his sad tomb. Each of these sinners here in hell are spirits now. They're only spirits. They don't have bodies. How they have some sort of corporeal essence or visibility, like they appear as bodies. We'll learn why that is later in Purgatorio. But here they're just spirits that are manifesting themselves to Dante. And on that great day of judgment, they will return back to this place of judgment with their flesh, both soul and flesh, to hear that which thunders eternally, the great judgment that will be on them. So we passed on through a filthy mixture of the shades and rain, with slow labored steps, touching a little on the future life. Wherefore I said, Master, all these torments, will they increase after final judgment? Will they be less or equally scorching? Right? He's asking when they come back after the final judgment, like you just said, these sinners, when they return with their flesh, will it be more painful? Will the pain increase? Will the torment increase? Will it be less? Will it be equal? What's it going to be like? He said to me, return to your science. And here science refers to Aristotle and to philosophy. Return to your science, which says the more perfect something becomes, the more it senses good and also pain. And again, perfect in that sense, not of morally upright or morally righteous, but rather perfected in its composition. To be made perfect is the vase being put back together after being broken. It is now perfect, right? It's as it was made. It was as it was created. And so the souls in hell will be perfected in the sense that they will be both body and soul once again after the resurrection. And in that perfect state, will they receive more, will their punishment be harsher? And Virgil is saying, when something becomes more perfect, it senses good and pain both more, right? It senses it more. Not one of these miserable people will ever attain to true perfection, but they will be closer than they are, right? We wandered on by the dark rounding road, speaking much more that I do not recount. We came to the point where the road broke off. There we found Plutus, the great enemy. So they will never be perfect. Why? They will never be absolutely perfect because they have in their sin abandoned so much of their humanity that even when they have their bodies back, they will not be fully human. Now they'll be a lot closer to being fully human, having their bodies and souls being brought back together in a unity. But because their sin has corrupted their humanity so much, they will never attain the real, true perfection that only is found when united to Christ. Because what were we created for? We were created body and soul to be in union with God. They will have their bodies and their souls back, but they will not have union with God. And so they will be a little bit more perfect than they are, but not in absolute perfection, because that can only come when one is rightly reconciled to God, which will only be experienced by those in glory, those who have died in Christ and been raised by him into life and not back into death. One more note, going back to the political drama, he says back on line 64, after long contention, Ciacco saying, after long contention, they will come to blood, and the savage sect will drive out the other with much offense. That right there is a line that refers to the black Guelphs coming in and driving out the white Guelphs. And it's that coup, it's that political coup when the white Guelphs are overturned. That's when Dante is forced into exile. Dante was a white Guelph. He was in Rome on an embassy to the Pope, Boniface VIII, during this time. And when the black Guelphs came in with Boniface's help, by the way, they exiled the whites and put an edict out that said, if Dante returns, you will be, first it said you will be, you are banished for 5 years and you owe, I forget what, like 5,000 ducats, something like that. Florence, not ducats. 5,000 florins, a large amount of money. And then 2 months later, in March of 1302, the edict was changed, the judgment, the sentence was changed to just, if you come back at all, we will kill you. So this is a permanent exile, permanent ban from returning to Florence. And you can imagine what kind of effect that might have. This is the early decades, the early years of the 14th century. He doesn't have centralized banking. He can't just go whip out his ATM card and withdraw money. He has to now beg for food, beg for shelter, beg for paper and ink, even to write, to make a livelihood for himself. And so this is what is coming, and this is what's being hinted at starting here in these verses. All right. With that, we ended with they found Plutus, the great enemy, and it's with Plutus, the great enemy, that we begin Canto 7. Till next time.